Always choose truth.
We ask the questions.
What is needed in the world for
Is
this
that going to be?
At this moment, probably no other place finds itself more in the crosshairs of all the dramatic changes sweeping across the Middle East and Europe than Turkey. Bombs have been set off in Ankara and Istanbul, killing hundreds, leading to direct confrontation with ISIL and armed Kurdish groups. A raging war is going on next door in Syria, with only a fragile ceasefire on the horizon. 3 months ago, when a Russian military jet over Syria breached its border, the Turkish military shot it down. But who made that decision? The result is a tense relationship with Moscow, and it hasn't gone away. And at the same time, more than 2 million refugees on its soil, still more entering every day, all this pushing Turkey towards a showdown with the European Union. How long can all this continue? Is there a possibility Turkey will lose its patience and order some sort of military intervention in Syria against Kurdish and government forces? And if so, is a military conflict with Russia in the cards? We'll cover all of these critical issues and more as the country's Prime Minister sits down with us on Talk to Al Jazeera.
Mr. Prime Minister, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera.
Thank you.
I want to start with Wednesday's events and the deadly car bomb attack in the capital Ankara. It took officials less than 24 hours to identify those it says were behind the attack. You pointed the finger at the Syrian-based armed Kurdish group, the YPG, and on Friday evening, a PKK splinter group, also an armed Kurdish faction, claimed responsibility. What evidence do you have that these people were behind the attack?
First of all, this is an attack not only against Turkey, this is an attack against humanity. Like what happened in Paris was an attack to all the humanity. Same valid for Ankara attack or Istanbul attack before as well. So it is a very sad event, and it shows the barbaric character of terrorist groups. After the attack happened, like all other cases, an investigation has started. We checked all the possible alternatives throughout night, and we identified the person who did the suicide attack. It happened in a car, and he hit to the bus shuttle bus carrying the officers, children and women. There are women officers as well, civilians as well. And the person is from Amuda, from Hasaka region, from Syria. His name is Salih, and all the information, Salih Najjar. After that, we identified his connections with other people. What we have found out, the person came to Turkey in 2014 as if he's an ordinary refugee. But later we had his records, he was registered. But later he cooperated and coordinated with the PKK elements, and they provided him the car, the bombs, and the rest. PKK, who are basically from Turkey, but of course from Iraq as well. So now we have 14 people arrested, and we have almost all the connections of this cell. This is like a cell, a sleeping cell, and when they got this instruction. So it is a combined effort of YPG and PKK together. In fact, YPG is an extension of PKK. So we don't have any doubt, and we have all the steps how this did happen. And this is, of course, a quick investigation, yes. Same happened in Istanbul when last month.
I want to ask you about Istanbul because also this is the third major attack to take place in 5 months. There was the twin bomb attack also in Ankara, which killed close to 200 people, also blamed on Kurdish armed groups. Istanbul's attack was blamed by ISIL or Daesh. Your critics say that the government is failing to protect its people.
No, those who are criticizing us should not forget that around Turkey there are 6 countries which are not able, where the governments are not able to control the whole territory. In Turkey, we have more risks because we have borders without the control of the other side. And also, we have 2.6 million people, refugees. Of course, almost all of them are innocent, but some bad people with bad intention like this Salih Najjar can easily infiltrate with these refugees.
As you mentioned, one of the main sources of the refugee flow has been from Syria. Now, aside from pointing the blame at the armed Kurdish groups, you yourself went further and said that because some of these groups, in your view, are propped up by the regime of Bashar al-Assad, then you put the blame at the doorstep of the Syrian regime. Does Turkey, or what measures does Turkey plan on taking in response?
We not only blame on this, in fact, Syrian representative in UN has already declared that they have connections with YPG. So it is a clear connection. YPG has been supported, being created by the regime, and today supported by Russians.
So how will you respond?
So this is a terrorist attack which was backed by the regime. We know how and when we respond. Definitely, those who made this attack against our people will pay the price. But how and when, we will decide, and when it happened, everybody will see that Turkey can respond any challenges, any attack against it.
The reason why I ask is because realistically it appears your options are limited. Russia controls the skies over Syria, so you're limited to shelling short distances from across the border unless you're willing to go into conflict with Russia. Are you willing to do that? Bearing in mind that, as you say, Russia has links with the YPG, they opened an office in Moscow.
Skies belongs to Russia, or Russia controls the sky. But Turkey has the hearts of the people. Hearts of Syrian people are with us. And nobody can defeat a people. This has happened in other countries as well. And even in recent attacks against Azaz, when they violated our rules of engagement in 3 days, we responded to YPG positions. And we will continue to do everything. If anybody threatens Turkish border, and if there are attempts to push more and more refugees inside to Turkey, of course Turkey has the right to do everything possible, and all the measures will be taken, and that will be happening.
On the relationship with Russia, who is it that gave the order to down the Russian Air Force jets when it violated Turkish airspace? And do you regret that incident?
First of all, we never regret because of defending our airspace or our territory. Of course, we didn't know when Russian plane was hit. It was a Russian plane. It could have been a Syrian regime, but we are a democratic country, and there is a procedure to defend our borders and our airspace. There was a clear instruction to our army, Air Force, and all army, that whoever violates Turkish borders will not be allowed to do so. And this is what we call rule of engagement. This rules of engagement was first declared in 2012 when Syrian regime had attacked a Turkish plane, and one Turkish plane was crashed. In 2012, there was a clear instruction: if anybody comes from Syrian territory, heavy skies, that will not be allowed.
So it was a standing order. It wasn't.
Of course, not for specifically for this. You cannot specifically order because it happened in 30 seconds or 1 minute or 2 minutes. They cannot reach to prime minister or minister to get the instruction. It is a standing order. Also, after Russian intervention to Syria, we have renewed this order, and we told to Russians very clearly that there is a rule of engagement, and Turkey is a serious country. When we declare something, we will implement it. And of course, as Prime Minister, since army is under the rule of democratic government, this was not specifically against Russia or against any other country. This was against any power, by sea, by land, or by air, to violate our border. Therefore, we do not regret, and we warned Russia several times before there was 4 violations before this incident, and in this incident, 10 times the plane was warned that they should not be violating our border, and not only violating our border and violating and then bombarding civilians on the other side of the border. They are also already killing people in Syria, but they cannot use our airspace to kill more Syrian brothers and sisters. This is so it was a standing order for all planes or troops or tanks or ships violating our border, and this same standing order is there. I hope nobody will do another mistake.
So what now for Turkish-Russian relations? I mean, right now you do not see eye to eye when it comes to Syria. Syria is not going away anytime soon. The problem is getting worse. The problem with Syria has very much now reached to your doorstep. I mean, this could have been, God forbid, anybody else. These attacks could have been against your convoy or anyone else's convoy. And obviously there is a link, as you say, between Russia and the YPG and the other forces you're attacking. How are you going to settle this conflict with Russia?
First of all, we are not responsible for this conflict. Turkey, as I said, had a very risky territory. It is not because of our difference of opinion in Syria with Russia, because we had the same difference of opinion for the last 4 years, but we kept our relations in the best form, and we tried to work with Russia how to help to have a peace in Syria. But when any foreign force comes to Syria and violates our border, regardless of the country, we have the right to defend our border. Assume that if this plane attacked a Turkish city, we don't know. Nobody could know it. We were not informed in advance, and there was not any signal by this plane approaching to our border. So this is our clear position, and this will never change. But we want to improve our relations with Russia, yes, like with other countries. And therefore, until now, we were very careful not to harm relations more. But unfortunately, Russian side, they escalate the tensions. They even made more heavy bombardments on our border side, which created humanitarian tragedies, like they bombarded schools and hospitals in Azaz, in Aleppo, and in Tel Rifat, in many places. So it is up to Russians. We are ready, and we offered them to have a joint commission to discuss all these matters. They didn't accept. Of course, we are ready to have any channel. We are ready to talk any issue, but we are not ready to talk on our security, national security matters, and on the dignity of the country as the airspace, etc. So this is basically, and we hope Russians will understand the significance of relations with Turkey. And as I said, it was not an intentional attack against Russia, and we told this to Russians. That plane didn't give a signal in Russian or in anything. So this was a defensive approach against an aggression against our a violation of our air space. This is basically what happened, and we are ready to talk, but as I said, Turkey will defend its borders at any cost.
On the issue of talks, the Geneva talks are ongoing, and the UN envoy seems to be aiming for some sort of a deal to be struck by the 25th of this month. How hopeful are you that at least a ceasefire can be reached with regards to Syria?
Of course, we want to have a ceasefire and a peace in Syria. There is no other country more affected by this crisis like Turkey. But if you ask how much I am optimistic, we have to be realistic. We are not very optimistic because until now, all these diplomatic negotiations are being misused by the regime, by Russia, by Iran and pro-Iranian elements on the ground to gain more and to kill more people. I have to be very frank. Syria and its allies are responsible for not having a result in last round of talk. Therefore, if they continue to have the same attitude, talking on one side to gain time and attacking on civilians and Syrian people on the other side, this initiative cannot be successful if this happens again. But if they are serious, we will see whether, for example, there will be no air bombardment against Aleppo, against Azaz. That will be a test, a litmus test for them.
Well, so far those air attacks continue to happen daily, and that's increasing the number of refugees who are fleeing to the border with Turkey. Turkey has already housed by far the most number of Syrian refugees since the war began. But we're seeing now that the border is being closed. Is this a result of an agreement that Turkey has had with the European Union?
No, our border is not closed. We are providing all the logistics to the other side of the border. And we did not close. But at the same time, we will not help the attempts of ethnic cleansing in and around Aleppo. The purpose of Russian air attacks are clear. They want to make an ethnic cleansing. They want to send all anti-regime forces, groups, all Sunnis, Kurds, Turkoman or Arab, not important for them, and all those who are against the regime. So in fact, based on humanitarian ground, we are receiving the refugees, and they are continuing to push these people to Turkey to continue this ethnic cleansing. And international community is silent, so we don't want to help them. We will keep these people as far as we can on the other side in Syrian territories and help them there. But if they want to come, or if there is a danger of life, risk of life, we will never close the border. We will not let Syrian brothers and sisters to the mercy of this barbaric regime of Daesh or Russia or Iran or other forces, foreign forces on the ground. But as I said, we will help them. This is not a matter of negotiation between us and EU. EU knows very well, and they also admires Turkish effort receiving all these people. I am sure next generations will not forget this forever. But at the same time, like what Chancellor Merkel said, now everybody, especially Europeans, understand that there is a need of a safe zone for the refugees to stay in Syria. This is our common position with EU. And they and us, we know very well that this tactic is to create, the aim is to create a refugee crisis in Turkey and in EU.
Finally, I want to go back to Syria. In 2013, when we spoke, you warned about the dangers that would arise if Aleppo fell in the hands of Assad's regime, hinting at the time that this may be a red line for Turkey. Since then, Syria's armed opposition has suffered major losses. Chemical weapons have been used. Russia has taken charge, and all the while Turkey and its allies appear to be doing nothing except condemning. As you say now, there are attempts to ethnically cleanse the northern part of Syria, and still, in terms of the action taken by Iran or Russia, which is throwing all their military might behind Syria, comparative to what Turkey and its allies, NATO and others, the Saudis and others is doing, it's very tame. What has to happen for Turkey and countries that claim to support the Syrian people to intervene?
First of all, let me correct two things. There is a misperception as if Syrian regime and their allies are victorious. First assumption, which is not right. Second assumption is as if Turkey and allies with Turkey, like Qatar, like Saudi Arabia, and some other countries, friends of Syria, let me say, did not do anything except condemnation. Let's come first to the first assumption. Imagine a country, an army of a regime with full capacity of air force, land force, Shabihas, and they attacked Aleppo in the last 5 years. They killed people, but they were not successful. Then they called Hezbollah to come. Hezbollah came, and Hezbollah is very well known, their operations against Israel. But Hezbollah, the support of Hezbollah was not enough to defeat Syrian people together with the regime. Then they invited Iran. Iran came. and with all the might, as you said, Iran has attacked. Then some extremist Shiite militias came, and Daesh came, attacking this civilian Syrian opposition. And behind Daesh, of course, there are very dark forces to push them. And Daesh attacked basically against Syrian opposition. They take Raqqa from Syrian opposition. They took Manbij from Syrian opposition. Deir ez-Zor from Syrian opposition. They didn't get anything from Syrian regime. So Daesh has attacked. And at last, none of them were able to defeat heroic Syrian people. They called Russia to come. And Russia is attacking. Still, with all these forces, they were not able to take Aleppo and Idlib and many other cities and towns. It means the victorious side is Syrian people.
Allow me
Despite of all these forces, I salute Syrian people, heroic Syrian people in Aleppo and everywhere in Syria. They resisted against regime. They resisted against Hezbollah. They resisted against Iran. They resisted against extremist Shiite sectarian terrorists. They resisted against Daesh terrorism. Now they are resisting against Russia. Now, they were able to control significant part of Syria. In July, Assad declared that they are only controlling 12% of the country. Therefore, Russia came in. But now, how were they able to defend themselves? If there was no Turkish support to Syrian people, could they be defending Aleppo? Or was it possible for them to survive? So if there is today a real Syrian moderate opposition, it is because of Turkish support. If today regime is not able to control all the territories, Turkey, because of Turkish and some other countries' support. If, despite of heavy bombardment in one day, last week, Russia used around 500 sortie attacks against Tel Rifat, Azaz, and Aleppo. They didn't attack to Daesh positions. If Syrian people are still there, defending their land, it is because of our support, and we will continue to support. So we are not just condemning, we are supporting them.
But if you may, what I mean by the question is this. Yes, you're almost acting like a life support machine, if you will, that maintains the Syrian opposition. But that's, while they're just staying alive, the country's been destroyed. As a refugee, if I'm a refugee, yes, this talk of us being perseverance and allowing and so forth, it may fill my heart with pride as a Syrian refugee who's looking for freedom, but in the end of the day, I'm a refugee. In the end of the day, my country's been destroyed.
We are not only supporting refugees, we are supporting people in Syria. We received 2.6 million refugees, but
But who will stop the bombing? That's what I mean. Who will stop Russia? Who will stop Iran? Who will stop the Syrian regime? Who will put an end to the war?
all of us. But first, heroic Syrian people, like Afghans defeated Soviets. I am sure one day, heroic Syrian people will defeat all these forces, and Turkey will be with Syrian people. But you cannot blame. When, for example, now, I told this to one important Arab statesman when they asked the same question. We sent military. Why do not intervene in Syria? We send military trainers and some troops to defend them in order to liberate Mosul. We send them in Bashika, and Arab League has condemned Turkey. Now those who are asking us question, they have to look at themselves. Which Arab country did more? I am not criticizing all Arab friends. Did more than Turkey. And why, when Turkey went to Mosul, to liberate Mosul, to help Mosul, Arab League has condemned Turkey and asked to withdraw. Who will guarantee us, if we militarily intervene, that Arab countries will be defending and supporting this? Turkey will do everything to protect its border, its territory, and we will not ask permission from anyone if there is any threat against Turkey. Secondly, Turkey will be doing everything for Syrian brothers and sisters without asking any assistance from anywhere for refugees as well as for the heroic people in Syria. Arabs, Turkoman, Kurd, Sunnis, Alevites, Nusayris, or Muslims and Christians, all Syrians, those who are raising their voice against this aggression by the regime, by terrorists like YPG and Daesh, and foreign forces who are invading Syria today, like Russia and Iran. Turkey will support these civil forces in Syria, and I am sure at the end of the day, patriotic people of Syria will win.
Mr. Prime Minister, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera.
Thank you very much.